get it right now.
Hey everybody! Hey, looks like Kim Masters is now hosting us like he always does. Thank you. Hey, we're live here. We got the McLeod with us today.
What's up, guys?
And I'm Eric. So we're going to talk a little bit about, I guess we're going to play some Just Survive stuff, right, McLeod?
Gonna do a little bit of Just Surviving.
And then we are going to do a little, play a video from Alpha 16 of the 7 Days to Die, which was pretty cool that they released. I can't remember when they released it, but it was recently. But it was so cool that I had to show it. So what do you want to do first? You want to talk a little 7 Days, or you want to talk a little? You want to talk a little?
We can do some 7 days.
All right.
I'm totally cool with that.
So they're completely late with Alpha 16's release. It was supposed to be released a couple weeks ago. But the videos that I keep seeing keep looking very cool. They've got some very long videos on their YouTube, but this one's a pretty short one. So why don't I just, it's a new trap that they've got, which I can tell from an Imperium Goon perspective we're going to have great fun with. So why don't I just roll that?
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it.
See, let's stick it up here. Let's see if I can get this working.
Head.
See if I have it rewound.
It's going to chop their head off. If it hits them in the leg, it's going to chop their leg off.
So basically, this is a spinning blade trap.
Let's get a few
You
guys
see
in
it up
here.
there. And he's going to spawn some zombies in on this video. And they are obviously, he's going to get aggro. He's going to pull them in toward him. And they've got some new zombies, so all the effects for the zombies aren't in. In the end, he'll pull some zombies that have some effects in. So.
Now that zombie doesn't have, she doesn't have chopped buffable limbs yet like the old ones do. She's a new one. I shouldn't have spawned her in.
Ah, I see.
But yeah, let's see what happens
You
here.
can tell we're going to have some fun with this one.
This one's got all the detachments. Yeah, she's trying to get over that
Slice them and dice them.
There we go. As you can see, it's pretty.
But yeah, I mean,
pretty brutal.
The graphics look a little bit crisper too here on Alpha 16
These guys.
than they did before.
Yeah, I think so.
A whole bunch of
A
them.
whole bunch of the bloaties.
Is that one trying to jump over the actual screen? Is that what, or was he trying to jump over the
A couple
They
of
were
them got
trying to jump
through.
over the dead body.
Oh, look at that guy.
Some proper carnage.
The one thing I found interesting, I wonder if this is part of it, or are they? Looks almost like a little backpacking type thing is getting dropped by them with their loot in it, maybe when their body goes, rather than showing all the loot. So I think that might be a.
So we have to work on the gore. I redid all the ragdolls, so they're missing their.
Part of this
their
too
head
is the
stumps
addition of
and
electricity,
all that stuff. But
right?
I
So
won't
he's
take
got
long
a
to
generator
fix.
over
But
in the corner.
main thing I wanted to show you guys
Like
was
they're
the spike trap.
modularized
It's pretty
that
awesome.
you just
Thanks
add
for watching.
power
Remember to
packs
like
into
and
them,
subscribe.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
Higher power things or more things, I imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be pretty good. That'd be in line with what I would imagine. You know, would be a kind of, that kind of situation. That particular game, like how granular it is, and how kind of, modular it is. I'd imagine that those, the way that they make the power system in that is going to be modular, so you can do it, and you can, make powered systems in your bases.
Yeah, it looked too like,
depending on how creative you want to be, right?
All right, so it looks like they've made it so you don't have to have like 15 generators to get the required power, right? You're just dropping more power cells into the one generator, which is kind of cool. That'll keep it from getting cluttered.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Also, if they've got those, if they're really going to drop backpacks like that from now on, not necessarily that it's a backpack, right? Just a loot bag. That probably will make it a lot easier on the server because, when zombies used to die, they dropped 15 things, right?
Yeah.
You had to pick them all up. Oh, your sound just started to come through a little different. So that's pretty cool.
It may be a little different. How do you mean?
Clearer and louder.
That's always good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
That is always good.
I see Caleb's here. Caleb,
Hey, Caleb.
Port 66 is here. Caleb missed all the good stuff. Caleb, actually, I probably should have saved a link to that video. And let me see if I have it here.
Just drop the link into the chat, just so people can check it out at their leisure.
Problem is, I might have already. Did I? Back one here. See if I can get that video up.
So if you were using Chrome, you could literally just go back to close.
But I'm trying to do it without. There we go. I'm going to drop it in here, folks. Here is the video. Yeah, and I'm thinking that you can port. I mean, if it's what they've done in 7 Days to Die before, right? You can put tracks next to each other. So when you look at typically what the Imperium does, right? What they will do is they will dig a shaft into the ground, right? And they will stick things like forges, which aggro screamers and different kinds of zombies underneath them. And they will all run to that hole. They will fall down to the hole, and they either fall into a burning or a spike pit, right? That they often do. But I can see
or a burning spike pit.
Or a burning
or a burning spike pit.
Yeah.
As I've realized that you know, when I found out, I was like, oh right, that spike has a flamethrower built into it, kind of thing.
Yeah, they call it the goon hole, right? And so I can see these fans being part of that.
Oh yeah, totally. It is extremely goon-like to have like that kind of automated mass murdering kind of system.
And so on a horde night, right, when you just get tons of zombies, right, they just sit there and collect all the loot and let the zombies come to die, and they have it all caged in, and they're shooting the zombies as they fall as well. So it'll be interesting to see what we do with these, you know.
Yeah, sounds perfect, bro.
Caleb says everybody loves a goon hole. So it's funny. Yeah, so I mean that's really all the news I have on Alpha 16, right? Other than they've got a couple videos out there that are like 20 minutes long, right? That show you a lot of the new architecture that's out there, the new rendering, the new random generation maps. So they've added things into that to make it more interesting, right? So they've got like backyards with swing sets in them, right? They've got they've labeled the buildings so they're not so nondescript anymore, some of them, right? So they've got daycares and everything. So it looks like they're doing a lot of work. They've got some new zombies. They didn't have all the rendering done when this video was made. Which came out on April 11th, right? So they're still doing work.
Yeah.
But it looks like a lot of this is much more interesting.
Excellent, man.
So I can't wait for Alpha 16 to come out because it'll be a fun game, and we'll just throw a bunch of people on the servers. I'll see if they have any other short videos that we can watch maybe next week too, but it really does look like they've done a nice upgrade to the game. You know?
Yeah, I mean the power system is a huge thing because, like, you know, the potential possibilities of having, you know, a modular power system and, you know, basically building up on a power system that you can use to do things with.
Yeah,
you know, it's a huge thing. It's a massive thing. I imagine like they probably want to make sure that like that's implemented well and correctly and isn't like isn't either a massive burden on the resources on the server kind of thing, or you know, isn't horrendously broken in some way, shape, or form. So
yeah, from the videos, it looks like they might have done some other things for performance, which is pretty cool. So we'll see how that goes. I see Zarker has joined us. Hello, Zarker.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
Zarker has taken time off killing red crosses or red different shaped isometric things in space to come and join us here.
Oh, he was mining in space. Yeah, he was mining in space earlier.
Oh, he was mining in space.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Asteroid pissed me off, so I killed it.
Goddamn asteroids!
Damn asteroids!
Thinking they own the space.
Not in this sector, my friend.
Exactly.
Yes, Zarker convinced me to anchor a new citadel on a gate so he can gate camp a gate and blow people up as they come through.
Yes, it's gonna be epic.
Evil man.
I'm not sure why he needed a he's like the new wave of Eve players, right? They need these citadels on the gates, right? I grew up in that
right
time,
on the gate.
You know, when you had a Weber, you had a bubbler,
Yeah.
you know, and a couple DPS guys.
And you prayed for one of those like new players to come along and go, how can I help? And you'd be like, you can jump into a ship that has remote sensor boosters and boost me. You know, it was the kind of like, please do that. But well, no, I just want to citadel on a gate now.
Yeah, well, I can sit on the Astra house with my carrier and warp my fighters all the way over to the gate and put up a bubble, and that way I can just do the whole gate camp myself. And as shit goes down, you just wait out your timer, and you tether to the Astra house. They try to bump you, just log off.
Ever the entrepreneur. Okay, ever the entrepreneur. You're always striving to have more of the chain.
Yeah,
and have more of the.
And since Caleb's beating up on Zarker a little bit, while Zarker does love to Care Bear, Zarker loves to kill too. He likes to do all aspects of the game, so I'll support him there.
He loves to kill, and he especially loves to kill when he's had a few drinks.
Yes. Nothing beats being able to Care Bear at the same time PvPing. Yep.
So you're going to be in there mining, and then some dope comes through the gate, pop his little head in, and then you're just going to
You're going to be one of those people on the fleets that I go, well, you're definitely not going to be Logi Anchor or in a Logi in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
you're going to be F1ing because I know that you're going to have your head somewhere else as well. So I can't give you important jobs to do.
There you go.
Hold on, my rorqual's tackled. I got to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what?
We're in the middle of a fleet, man. Fuck you. We got to go.
It's a freaking Stratop. What are you doing mining?
I'm on the strat up too, and I'm mining.
that wouldn't fly in it. I'll tell you that right now.
You know, we sent a couple guys over to. We sent a couple guys over to go help the Undead over there. A couple guys went over.
Yeah, I've seen it. I saw a couple of guys like just chilling out in comms and helping out and helping us out in fleets. Just the odd few kind of people here and there. It's pretty cool.
That's one of the cool things about Imperium, at least in Eve, right? So you're bored. Right, you don't want to Care Bear, but there's no war on. But somebody's always fighting some SIG, some group. You can always go join them, right? Go support them.
Yeah, man.
So yeah. So Port 66 saying people get butt hurt on the gate when you have the bubble on the gate. That's why you don't do it in a pipe system.
That's right. Well, don't worry, brother. You're a local. The locals will be fine with it. Those other fuckers, fuck them. Stay out of our system.
If you don't have bouncers in the pipe systems around your area, then you're doing it wrong. Because to be honest, I know that Rooks and Kings aren't around, but not really around too much anyway. But I hope and pray that someone picks up the torch that they put down, and goes and teaches people who warp their fleet gate to gate in pipe systems, just to screw them up. Because although I know it's jumping a whole bunch of battleships to smart bomb and pipe bomb somebody to death is feels way OP, really OP. It's
easy to do.
A hell of a lot of fun. It's a hell of a lot of fun on both sides, to be completely honest. And I've been pipe bombed by Rooks and Kings before. I think I was in the Harpy fleet that was pipe bomb that Rooks and Kings pipe bombed Asher, I think, either Asher or something like that. Like
Okay,
literally right next to our station that we were going to be docking in. Like we were literally warping to dock, and they literally drag bubbled us off and then pipe bombed us. So we were like so close to getting in, and we were just like, yep, dead.
So Port 66, all those scepters. I was actually kind of pipe bombed in a scepter probably a couple months ago. Somebody in some system had 2 battleships set up in line in bubbles. And I was, warping gate to gate in my interceptor, even with the shield buff and a travel scepter. And I went through the gate, got past the guys in the first bubble, and then the next 2 bubbles were between the gates. And as I went through the first one, I got hit, took down most of my shields. Second bubble, just a perfect time, got hit by a smart bomb. Boom, I was dead. It's kind of cool the way they set that up.
Good.
2 in a row.
Good night, sweet prince.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. It was pretty cool. I think it was something like 33 jumps away too, and it got me home quicker, so it wasn't all bad. 21 million for an express home. That wasn't too bad.
Not too bad, but the other kind of thing is, I guess this is a public service announcement, kind of PSA sort of thing for anybody who does not know this, who watches this channel. Like, if you are going through low sec, despite the fact that it doesn't have drag bubbles and stuff like that in nullsec, if you're going through Rancer and warping gate to gate, you expect to die.
Yes.
Expect to die and expect to lose any shiny implants in your pod, because you're going to get smart bombed to death on one of those gates.
I learned that.
That's why I have it
here about 4 weeks
you
ago. I wanted a rattlesnake, so I was like, I'm going to Mara. I'm getting myself a rattlesnake blueprint. And I'm gonna fly back your interceptor. No big deal. I hope that guy enjoys the rattlesnake blueprint.
I told you to put Rancer on your avoidance list. Jesus Christ.
Well, this was before that. I learned.
Oh, okay. My advice didn't get to you in time to save that rattlesnake blueprint then. Aww.
Yeah. But the other day I found a wormhole 4 jumps out of Jeddah. That was fun. I went and got some stuff.
Oh, you went right there. That's pretty cool. Hey, we're coming up on 320. Is there not that I hate Eve stuff, but we're not the Eve talk show.
That's right. We tend to talk about Eve eventually anyway, all the time on this show. But it's just like it's a part of my life, and I know it's getting to be more of a part of my life because I'm starting to actually really enjoy flying around in Cloud Ring against NC. So
I did enjoy my time in Cloud Ring as well. It's a nice little place, nice little set of constellations,
and as well as Syndicate. To be honest,
Oh yes,
been having some good fun. We've been having some good fun fighting somewhat outnumbered against NC.
Nice.
We've been showing our quality in snatch fleets to NC for and they're getting suitably appreciative of our skills and efforts.
Caleb is
how is H1 going?
Yeah, so let's talk a little H1Z1. Oh, are you playing yet?
I am playing.
I did. Yeah, let me kick on your game feed.
Okay.
Why is it waiting for your stream video?
Oh, that's maybe because I haven't started the stream up yet. Lol. Okay, I'll just make sure that I've got that. Start streaming. Yes.
Ah, there you go.
Waiting.
Perfect. There he is.
Yay.
Oh, I hear a wolf.
Yeah.
That's the other thing they improved they improved the dogs. I think it was a wolf they added maybe in 7 days. Look that up.
They did. Oh, nice. So I'm just like, I was going to actually sort of talk a little bit about like the build system, because they've kind of done a little bit of changes and improvements to the build system, just a little bit. Like, some of it's cosmetic, some of it's not. Like, I just kind of wanted to.
Sure.
Let me just quickly get a fire axe so I can do this. But kind of, they've been trying to but essentially remove a lot of the bugs and a lot of the kind of I would say unintentional abilities for people to make bases that are ridiculously difficult / or practically impossible to actually break into. And in doing so, they've also done a few other things. Like, I mean, if you haven't played H1Z1 for a long time, you would probably look at this deck and be like, well, what's going on with the underside of it? Essentially, they've created this kind of this barrier, this kind of skirting around the side, around the edges of it, in order to stop people from going underneath it and then jumping up and through it, kind of thing. Basically it prevents and stops people from exploiting a particular bug, which they either haven't been able to get their heads around to stop, or is near impossible to stop in some way, shape, or form. But some of the other kind of things that they've done to actually help improve it is, well, we kind of covered it sort of last weekish a little bit. They've prevented like you placing a bunch of like small stuff that's really difficult to blow up, to just basically keep locations. Like, so essentially everybody knows how much explosives take a gate out, kind of thing, and a door out and a shelter out, kind of thing. But like when it comes to things like storage containers and this, that, and the other, it can be a little bit subjective, because you're not typically normally there kind of trying to blow up containers. You're normally trying to blow everything up to get to the containers. But you know, in a game where territory matters, you know, not being able to evict somebody because you can't like basically despawn their decks makes it really, it's Sunrise.
Yeah, I don't know. That didn't happen
Moonrise,
before.
Moonrise, sorry.
That didn't used to happen before, did it?
No, did they change?
Not to that kind of
dramatic
fidelity,
effect.
Yeah. So what was that, Sokka?
So I was reading on the forums that they were unable to put decks next to each other now. There's like a gap in between them.
This is one of the things. You see that this is like what I have here is a deck and an extension, and then I've got like some gates. The extension, basically what they've done is they've stopped you being able to put an extension from another deck through the extension of, you know, of a different deck. Like,
I see.
You know, if you own both of the decks, like even if you placed that deck like a little too close, like before, you would be able to just put the extension, and the extension would just clip through the other extension, essentially.
Right.
There were a lot of reasons why that's not a good idea, and there's a lot of reasons why, you know, and a lot of kind of a lot of people abuse that ability to be able to put the extensions through a lot of other things as well, including shelters and, you know, sort of, and like loot containers and this, that, and the other. So basically, you know, prevent anybody from being able to get them except the base owner, who could demo stuff in order to actually despawn the deck so he can get to it. So they've essentially just removed a bunch of all of that kind of stuff. But some of the other kind of, you know, some of the kind of more subtle changes is like, if you kind of look, can you see the little dots?
Yeah.
So they're basically like the central kind of, they're the central location for like the sockets of the deck. So you see, if you kind of see, there's a it's a 3x3 grid. So there's like 3 that way and 3 this way, kind of thing. So essentially, those are the sockets that you can kind of use to sort of you can put your you know, your whatever you want on there, like shelter on there, kind of thing. Same with this.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, so you know, it's a little bit of visual improvement to aid people building bases, that kind of thing. You know, they're still prescribing subscribing to the, you know, the fact that you can't put things straight through anything naturally, kind of thing.
What happens if you open that gate?
Well, like,
can you open that
this
gate?
Is the thing. But this is the thing. Like, this is the thing. Like, you know, you can do that, for example.
Right.
Which is basically placing it through the gap which you've opened.
Right.
And then
will the gate close again?
And then you can close it and it'll be through. So that's how a lot of people have been able to kind of get around that situation. But there's a lot of things that they've kind of shored up and like basically stopped people from happening. I think I've been led to believe that you can still double place shelters, and that has very specific rules to what you can do and what you can't do. So you can't place you can't basically place like two shelter like how you see here where you have just the shelter in the middle of the deck. You can't place an identical shelter like this in exactly the same place. What tends to happen is this particular area, essentially the area that like the part of the shelter that has the door, right? Because this is a large shelter. It's basically it spans two sockets of the deck. Essentially, what it is you can't put something in this first socket here, where you have the door. But you can't. Like what you can do, like not on the same deck anyway. You can on an extension. It's kind of one of these sorts of one of these strange sort of things. So what you can do is you can have, say, a shelter here, right, on the extension of the deck. So you see, like with the graining here, there's like the deck there, and this is the extension. Right. If you have the shelter like that, you can put another shelter. If you drop it at exactly the same time, you can have another shelter that starts here and goes this way. So that would be positioned like that, for example. So you could drop it like that. So what you would have is you wouldn't use a large shelter, you'd use a small shelter, but you'd have a door here into a shelter, and then you have another shelter here with a door here. And that's how you get the two shelters inside of one kind of large shelter space. People use that to be able to essentially just make it a little bit harder for people to get into into their loot rooms and to get to their loot. You could do something like if you had another gate, you could say put a gate here, open the gate out, and then place the shelter and then the large shelter, the small shelter like here, and the large shelter kind of going from here to here. Once you had that gate opened, but and then what you do is you put the doors down, and then you close the shelter gate as well, and then what you have is you have a door, a gate, and then a door in order to get into the loot room that would be here.
Right.
So there's, these are all the sort of more advanced techniques of being able to basically put more in the way of someone trying to raid your base in order for them to expend more explosives to get to your loot. And that's essentially, when it comes to building advanced bases in H1Z1, that is the premise of building bases in H1Z1. Like nobody, unless they're fairly new to the game, builds bases based on prettification, based on, this will look cool if this was like that.
Right.
They always look at it in a form of, I need my loot to be as safe as it can be, and how can I make my loot to be as safe as it can be, for the however amount of effort you want to put. And that's the reason why you see the large groups making mega bases, because mega bases basically allow secure, like there's this phrase that a lot of security experts use, like internet security experts, regular security experts. Like there's a phrase that rings true with security, and that's security through obscurity. And that's what mega bases also do very, very well. They have so many different rooms that you could potentially blow into, but it's that kind of like, well, where is the loot? Right. It could be in 20 different places, 30 different places in a mega base.
Right.
But like you only have enough explosives typically, and enough time typically, to blow into maybe half of that, right? And that's what the mega bases kind of allow you to do. It allows you to strategically place loot in places where, you probably won't get it blown in. Like you probably won't. It will take too long for someone to blow through every single bit of it. in order to get to all the loot, so long as you keep everything obviously maintained.
Right.
We had a guy in our group that, or a couple of guys actually, who built a mega base, you know, very industrious, built a mega base all by themselves, just two of them, right? But they didn't maintain it. They didn't really maintain it, and unfortunately, you know, it got to the point where it was so close to dying that someone came along with 30, 40 ethanol, which is
not a lot.
a minuscule amount. It would take down, you know, it would take one of these gates to half, for example, like that amount.
Right.
Well, if it was properly maintained, I'm not really bothering, to be completely honest. But like, if it was full health, 40 ethanol will take the gate down to half, essentially.
Right.
Someone went into it with like 40 something ethanol, maybe 50 ethanol, something like that, and literally took down the majority of the structures in that base.
Wow.
Got all the loot, which I would say was probably in excess of way more than the guy actually brought in. So it was a massive win for that dude.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's the thing. You can build all you want, but if you don't maintain it, then there's no point. Like, someone will come in and wreck it. But I also wanted to touch on something else that I think a lot of people don't actually show, or don't actually show people how to use.
Okay.
And that's a tool that a lot of H1Z1, at least H1Z1 base builders, use to basically design their bases, or to play around with base ideas and base designs and stuff without going onto a test server or going onto a PvE server like this one is, and, you know, looting and scavenging for hours upon hours upon hours to actually build stuff with. And that is...
So there was a mention earlier. Can you still build the mega bases, or is there a gap that you have to maintain between foundations?
You can't have the bases clip into each other.
Right.
You have to, you can put them almost on top of each other, very close to each other. But like you know, but that's the thing. It's kind of like the trick is to basically build the base quick enough to be able to secure what you want to get secured, but be precise enough to build it, you know, literally, you know, millimeters in kind of different as a gap. Like, there's, I guess, from a game perspective, there has to be a gap in some way, shape, or form. You can't have one base, like, you can't have the side wall of one base go into the side, like, occupy the same space.
Right.
So there will always be a gap, but you can minimize that gap as much as possible by building very, very precisely.
So
you can make it so people can't go in between them.
You can, yeah. There is a thing with base components that, like, essentially there's like a little lip. So if you look here, like, essentially the foundation is like here, but there's like a little lip where the actual kind of, you know, where the actual kind of floor, where the actual floor is. So there is a bit of a lip that you have to kind of take account to. So there will always be a bit of a gap kind of there, like in between, when you're lining these up. And of course, if the terrain is kind of hilly like this, you won't get all of the being chased around by zombies while showing you this. But there won't always be you won't always get the nice kind of flat, you know, flat level bases unless you do something very specific with, like, ground tamps. But, you know, there's a few kind of caveats with ground tamps now. Essentially, you can't, if you place a ground tamp and you place a deck on top of the ground tamp, and you place, like, you know, things like this. Like, for example, what I've got here, yeah. If I place this on top of a ground tamp that didn't have anything on it except for this deck expansion, 3 gates and a ramp, right?
Right.
It would disappear within an hour, because for whatever reason the deck is considered to be a subsidiary of the ground tamp that you placed.
Gotcha.
And one of the things is, it isn't considered to be something that keeps the ground temp from despawning. You have to place something like a deck, like a gate, like a wall, like a shelter, in order to keep the ground temp there.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this bug at the moment that if you put a ground temp down and then you put a deck like with nothing on it, and then you put a deck down with whatever you want on, like with like if you prefabbed an entire base.
Mm-hmm.
You put a ground temp down, you didn't put anything on it, and then you built this deck on top of it with all manner of stuff, full extensions, a whole bunch of 14, 15, 20 like large shelters, like upper large shelters, all that kind of stuff. It would disappear within an hour, because essentially what it looks like is how the game kind of saw it was, this ground temp doesn't have anything on it that stops it despawning, so it will despawn the ground temp and it will despawn the deck that's on top of the ground temp as well, which really sucked. So you kind of have to make sure that you put something down on the ground temp to keep it from despawning, essentially. But yeah, so that's that. Like the thing that I wanted to show you, the tool that a lot of base builders use to draft their base designs up on it's actually made by Google.
Wow.
And if I'll just turn this sound down to 0, master volume to 0, so we can actually listen.
Might need to get a little something to eat and drink there.
A little bit. I will bring up what is. Oh, this is going to screw this up, something serious. But if we just transition. And I go display capture and show. Here we go. Now this is a Google application that's called SketchUp. You've ever heard of it before?
I have.
SketchUp is used to build, basically it's a 3D design program. It's used to build and for people to design models with, and this, that, and the other. And there's like a light version that's free, which is essentially this one. There's like a pro version, which actual designers use to make real world kind of, well, I say real world stuff, like, it's computer aided design. So it's a CAD program. You can use it to design, like exotic luxury cars, like concept cars and all that kind of stuff. But essentially what we're doing is a very, very introductory kind of way of building bases in here. And I've got some base components here. These base components came from the library that you can look through. There's like a thing called a 3D warehouse, which if you open up, it has a whole manner of things. Like, as you can see, there's literally so many different random kind of strange things that you can check out. And I think, if you just type in on the search H1Z1, you come up with a whole bunch of different things.
Oh wow.
I use the ones that I'm using here are by this guy called Illust Music, and he has a whole bunch of different things, as you can see. He's updated a whole bunch of things. So as you can see, you got the deck expansions and the foundations that have the skirts. I haven't updated mine. Obviously, you got the traps there that he's also put down, the repair boxes, which now is not there anymore, but you live and learn. You got crops, you've got shelters, all sorts of things. But these are all the components that can be used. I'm just using what I have at the moment, which is right, okay, that's what that was. So essentially what you can do is you can use this to pre-design bases. And that's what we tend to use. That's what I've been using for a long time to actually do. So what we have here is we have obviously ramps, we have a ground temp, we have gates, we have walls with upper walls, we have decks, and we have various different large shelters and regular shelters in various different,
layouts.
call it layouts. Yeah. So what we can do is we can select these, copy them, paste them, and start building them. And essentially, it's a very easy tool to use because you could just select things. I've essentially got a template that SketchUp starts up each time, which has all of these bits here, and I essentially just copy them and paste them. And when you do paste them, you can, if you kind of see, you can see that it like snaps to various different things.
Right.
So you can see how it's like how this component here is like snapping to
Grid
endpoints and to the grids that are there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it almost becomes almost like it's like a geeky grown-up version of Lego, like geeky version of like virtual reality Lego. You can literally just place these things how you want to place them, etc., etc. And essentially, this is how people design bases and put them together. Like you can literally just place a gate, copy the gate, place the gate, like this.
Port 66 was saying how he built a base. He was rated within the hour. He needs to practice more, right? And I think some of that's what you were talking about. If you have two people building a base, you can embed some things to make it harder to get to, right?
Totally, and that's the thing. That's the thing is like people will show ways, like you can go on the internet and look for H1Z1 base designs, and it will tell, like, people will put down the base designs that they hope that they want to see, because essentially anybody who is fairly decent at this game will be able to quite easily see what base design you're using if you're using something that has been seen before. And if it's something that's been seen before, then chances are it's someone has made the base design and put it up on YouTube in the hopes that like people will see it and go, oh, I'll use that. And then when they see it in like on the server, they go, I know exactly how that base is put together because I designed it, or I saw it on the internet, and I know exactly how it's put together. So this is the kind of nice reason. This is the nice way of designing your base without going through the effort of having to basically, scavenge all of the resources to build it on a PvE server, and still kind of look to see whether it's viable, look to see how you can improve it, how you can kind of make it better, how you where the flaws and the deficiencies are and stuff. But it requires something else as well.
Yeah.
It requires you to know some aspects of building bases, because what you can do in this program is things that obviously cannot happen in H1Z1. Like, for example, I can put gates like that, and it's quite obvious that the game will never allow you to put things in that kind of form. Like
correct.
If I was looking at, if I had no idea of how base design works in the game, and I was just using this program to design a base that was really difficult to like break into, I could just be like this. I could just be doing this, right?
Right.
And to anybody who doesn't know the game, but who knows, oh yeah, more gates equals a harder base to break into, if you looked at that and went, right, okay, well, that's a really that will protect my stuff from people. That will protect the inside of here from this, because they have to go through 8, 10, like 6, 7, 8 gates to get through to the center. But you and I know from building bases that is not gonna, that just won't fly in the game. So you have to know what the game will allow you to do and what the game will not allow you to do when you're building. Some of this is also, as we saw before when we were putting that large shelter down, that you can't build a large shelter just straight through a gate. So if we got like a large shelter here, just find one. There you go. There's a large shelter. So I can very easily just put a large shelter through, like, say, yeah, like sort of like
Yeah.
Like through here, right? I mean, technically, I could open that gate and put it down and then close the gate, kind of thing. But like, there's a lot of base designs where you get in where, you know, you're putting shelters on top of large shelters, you know, in various different ways, and then you have to kind of think to yourself, well, if you're putting all of these shelters on top of each other, I'll show you this. I'll show you a point.
And you can't go to a third floor
right here. And you can get, like, in this program, you can go into third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh floor, whatever.
Right.
Like, you know, literally the sky's the limit, right? But in game, you have these limitations that you have to be aware of. But like, essentially, in this scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
The gate that we had to open up in order to put these two down, right here,
mm-hmm.
that you see inside this gate here, right? If you had that open, or if you had these two down, this shelter and this shelter,
right?
If you had those two down already, and then you opened that gate up and you put these two down, this one and this one.
Okay.
So essentially, if I hid that, so if you had this initially, and you're going to open this one up, so it looked basically like.
Yeah,
essentially like so it was open up like that, so you could place down those shelters. If I unhide these, oops, unhide all, so you could place down those two. Then you have to think to yourself, well, how am I gonna? I mean, well, you can essentially.
How are you gonna close that gate again, right?
How are you gonna close the? Yeah, how are you gonna close that gate again? And if, like, for example, you know, there's situations where you probably wouldn't be able to get to that. Like if you're building on top of a mountainside, for example, and there's like a sheer cliff that, you know, that drops off like here, right? Mm-hmm. And there's like no practical way of being able to get to this gate to be able to close it. Then essentially what you've got is you've screwed yourself, because your base is now open. Like, you know, your base security, you've messed with the integrity, because essentially you need to keep this perimeter, you know, this kind of base perimeter that you see like above. Like there's this, here we are. There's this like base perimeter kind of thing that you have to kind of keep in order to make sure that your base is essentially going to stop people from jumping up onto it and jumping up over it. And in order to keep your stuff secure, because otherwise anybody can, if your base security, your perimeter isn't secure, then people can jump up on, people can use tactics to jump up onto the top of your base, run around your base. And if they have a way of getting into your base and then back out of your base, then they can just bring explosives in, blow the doors in your base without having to go through any gates, collect the loot and jump out. So you need to, like, and this is all these are the intricacies of base design when it comes to H1Z1, is to make sure that your stuff is secure. Make sure you build your stuff in a manner that won't screw you over later on. You know, and that's one of the, you know, those are the caveats. Those are the things that you need to, you know, make sure that you are very much aware of,
right,
when you're building
and
when you're designing these.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Paxton Brimstone, who just followed us here today. So thanks, Paxton, for the follow.
Cheers.
If you're not familiar here with the INN station, we have a number of streamers here. We're one show of many, right? Coming up next here in about 8 minutes, we have the Meta Show, right? So,
in 8 minutes.
In 8 minutes, we have the Meta Show coming up next, which is a great show.
Okay.
I really don't like it when I miss that one, right?
Exactly.
It's always fun. But yes, this is, you know what? This is a great tool. What did you call this tool again?
This tool is called SketchUp Make. So it's Google SketchUp Make. Okay,
so SketchUp Make, and it's from Google, and somebody's already created the H1Z1 pieces that you can use.
So if you want to, find the pieces, all you want to do is you want to go to File, and then there's a thing that says 3D Warehouse. and then you just get models, because all of these are basically pre-made models. They're like components. So you just get models, and then, I mean, obviously it won't come up like this. It'll come up like, you know, with your with the kind of home screen that isn't going to be this. It's going to be some other random thing. But essentially what you do is you just go there, you can type in H1Z1, see all the results. There's a bunch of people have made various different versions of it. Like I recommend this guy, Illust Music, and his stuff. I know that it's being constantly, essentially it's being constantly improved and, you know, basically like updated. So, you know, you have all the updated kind of stuff right there, even the weapons workbench, for God's sake. So it's even got those. The skirted versions of the decks and the expansions, it's all there. And what I wanted to show very quickly for people is basically the way that a lot of people design the fronts or the entrances to their bases in order to stop people from jumping up onto them, or to use the ramp to jump up onto them. So we just quickly show that. Like, essentially what you do is you have an extension with a whole bunch of gates. You have the ramp in the middle, and then what you do is you want to do this, is you want to have large shelters, and you want to place them in this particular way, which is essentially place one here.
So is this under the typical Google stuff, or is it under its own URL from Google?
Sorry?
So is this under Google's apps section, or is it its own URL? Is it
I don't. It's SketchUp. Yeah, I think I'm not sure whether they have a mobile version of it. Like, I wouldn't expect them to have a mobile version of it, but like, you never know these days. The sky's the limit, I guess. Like,
so I've got SketchUp.com, 3D modeling for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Huh? It should be, as long as it's like.
Because
I mean,
DRS 0104 was asking in chat, and I wanted to shoot him the link for it. And I'm used to Google things being under Google, right? But it almost looks like this.
This looks like SketchUp.com. Yeah, this looks about right.
Okay. Yeah, it looks about right. It looks like you do some pretty fantastic things with it.
Oh, you can do amazing things with it. Like, I mean, what we're doing here is like, it shouldn't really be called 3D modeling in any way, shape, or form. We're just basically screwing around with like with just components and just
right.
You know, just organizing components. Really, if anything, like this thing can be used 1,000 different ways. But essentially, what I just wanted to show here is how you build the entrance to a base in order to stop people from basically using the ramp to jump up onto your base.
Oh yeah.
And essentially, it's like, you've seen this before, because this is how we design a lot. So essentially, you create this alcove where you can use the ramp and you can open the gate, for example. So if we just hide this, that's the gate. And essentially, because of the extended and like overlapping large upper shelters here, you make this kind of this alcove where nobody can really jump up onto it, because essentially what people try and use like walls that go all the way up, or like corners especially, in order to actually get people to jump up onto the roof of stuff. So if you deny them the ability to use both the corners of something and like the kind of the ramp to be able to get people, you know, half, like a third of the way there technically, then you essentially make it like near impossible for them to actually use the ramp to their advantage.
Gotcha.
And yeah, so
pretty cool.
You know,
I always wanted to make it so that, you know, when you blast through that front door, that all the sides were filled with beehives, but the bees just never do enough damage, right? When they get mad, right? That would be cool.
No, they don't. They don't.
You have special killer bees. They all come out.
Like, you know, like killer African bees. Like, you know, just put a whole bunch of them in there.
So we're down to about 3 minutes here.
Okay.
And
one of the other kind of really cool things that you can do as well is you can also use furnaces as well, because essentially what you want to try and do when it comes to defending your base and basically making, like, deterring people from wanting to blow into your base is to basically make your base harder, or basically like require the person that's trying to blow into your base to have to expend more explosives to get into your base. One of the things that can do that are like things like furnaces that will absorb damage. Like essentially, if you have, like, say this arrangement, like this arrangement is kind of a pain because it will essentially stop you from driving a car up in here, right? But what you can do is you can maybe sort of take these and move them back one, so you can get a car into, say, this area, or maybe a little bit sort of, you know, that kind of thing, in order to actually, you know, take stuff out and then move a car out, kind of thing. But essentially, if you place furnaces, like sort of almost in front, but you can kind of clip it. You can kind of clip the furnaces into the area of the gate, because you can open the gate obviously and then close the gate afterwards. So like once you've got the furnaces there and you kind of close the gate, so it'll kind of look a little bit like that, like this in game as well. Essentially, what will happen is when someone puts a whole bunch of explosives, like, you know, all the way down in here, all of these furnaces will take some of the explosive damage that was put down. It'll absorb some of that explosive damage, which means that, you know, anybody who doesn't realize this, anybody who's raiding your base and you're inside your base and doesn't realize that will happen, will basically expend 80 ethanol or 40 IEDs to blow up the front of your base. It won't blow up the front of your base. It won't take this gate down, and you'll be able to basically wrap your entire base from inside of your base, including that gate, to full health before he's able to put down enough explosives to, like, basically
blow it all.
So he literally expends twice as much.
Alrighty, well, we are out of time, so we have to say goodbye. Thank you for the follows, everyone.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to turn it over to what is it? The Meta Show.
The Meta Show with Boat and the Matani.
Alrighty, see you, everyone.